Hello, and welcome back to Back on Track Overcoming Weight Regain. I am so excited today to have Andrea Serrata, who is a behavioral health coach and group fitness instructor and personal trainer, who's here with us today to kind of talk not only about her weight journey, but just give us some tips on how we can get back on track with our own weight journey. Now, Andrea has been known for her fun and engaging ways to get people eating better and moving better. She's developed an approach to weight management and health management that is sustainable and attainable. She's helped countless of clients improve their health and surpass their goals through nutrition, movement, and mindset coaching. So we are so excited that you're here. Can you please start off with just telling us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. And thank you so much for having me on. You will see I love talking about this stuff. I really do. So I am a mom of 4. I have kids from 7 years old to 18 years old. And I live in Western Canada, in Calgary, Alberta. And I have battled obesity my entire life. And my first career was actually as an American Sign Language interpreter. I did that for 17 years. And then I went and got my master's degree in counseling. And I did that for a while. But after going through my own health journey, I really wanted to focus on supporting other women who were fighting the same battle that I was fighting and I had fought for so many years. And so I left and I took my personal and professional experience and I started working specifically with women. I have worked with men too, but I really love working with women to shift their mindset, improve their confidence, their body image. And I'm also a nutritional coach. And then you already shared that I am a group fitness junkie. Like that is my thing. Feels like a party more than a workout to me. So it's how it got me moving.
Yeah, and you have people there that help keep you motivated as well.
Absolutely. Like if there were so many, especially over the last 18 months, we're all at home and isolated. I did not have the option of just like, I don't want to go. I'm like, I gotta go. They're counting on me. So it also has helped keep me on track as well. And the people that I work with, my coaching clients and my group fitness participants inspire me every day. So that has really helped. It's very self-serving, to be honest.
Oh, definitely. It's like they're giving more to you than you're giving to them, which is awesome.
It is true. It is true.
Now, you mentioned a little bit about your lifelong weight journey. Would you mind sharing a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So I started trying to actively lose weight when I was about 8 years old. I started doing exercise videos. I can remember being a child and overhearing comments to my parents about my weight and my size, and just realizing that I was taking up a little bit too much space in this world. At least that's what I thought. And so I started to hide, like I wouldn't eat as much, and then I would hide and sneak food. And I started doing exercise videos that my mom had lying around, VHS tapes, sweating to the oldies with Richard Simmons. And through my teen years, like my weight would go up and down over the years. But I tried what felt like everything. I had a family doctor put me on the military diet, and I was eating 1 wiener and 3 slices of beets for lunch. Like it was terrible. And when I look back, I wasn't even that overweight at the time, Anyways, and I went to Weight Watchers, I think 4 times. I tried the fasting. I tried all of it. And then I met my husband, and he just thought I was the most beautiful woman he had ever met. And I, at that time, was quite overweight. And he's always said that. It doesn't matter. I mean, very lucky. I'm so blessed. But anyhow, I got the deluxe package when I married my husband, and I got 2 children with him. And so I became a parent overnight, and that was quite stressful. So the weight went up a little bit more. I went and I saw a doctor here in town who, she just kept telling me to eat more protein. And before I knew it, I was eating protein cookies and all the fake protein foods, but my weight wasn't changing. I saw a personal trainer. My sister came with me to get ready for the wedding, and I was working out a ton. And then I'd be like, I worked out really hard. Let's go get a Frappuccino at Starbucks. So I didn't lose any weight there either. And it just seems to be like just the one thing I couldn't figure out in my life. And I tried so many things. When I had my two babies, I had trouble with breastfeeding them. So they put me on domperidone, which is a GI medication, and the side effect is lactation, but it makes people really hungry. So I just ate everything that I could get my hands on. And I forgot to mention that when I was in university, I was diagnosed with an underactive thyroid. So I thought, this is it. They're going to put me on thyroid medication and the weight's just going to fall off. Except it didn't.
Yeah.
Doesn't really work that way. So anyhow, after my youngest was born, my weight was about 300 pounds, and I had been put on metformin to help with breastfeeding as well, because there was a theory that if women that had insulin resistance may struggle to produce breast milk. So they put me on metformin. And when I wanted to come off of it, the doctor said, well, we can't because you're diabetic. And I didn't know, and you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And there were some days where I was just struggling to walk. My mobility was so bad. My joints were just aching. So I was already trying to make better choices, but I just didn't really know what to do. And then I was invited to appear on television. And when the cameras went live, I saw myself in the monitor, and it literally knocked the wind out of me. I didn't recognize the person on the screen. I was so much heavier than I realized. And that combined with the diabetes and the liver disease, I'm like, I got to figure this out. I don't know how, but I got to figure this out. So I cried the whole way home. I don't even know how I got through that interview. I really don't. I couldn't watch it. I don't think I've ever watched the whole interview, to be honest. It was just, I was devastated. And so by the time I arrived at home, I thought, you know what, I'm going to figure this out no matter how long it takes, because the time is going to pass anyways. And I know what doesn't work because I've done a lot of things and they didn't work. So I thought, let me just get back to the basics, right? So what I did is I looked up the National Weight Registry. This is the graduate student researcher in me. I'm like, we're going to figure this out. And I took to the computer. Let's do some research. Because diet culture certainly wasn't helping me. And so I found the National Weight Registry, which is a database of people who have lost at least 30 or more pounds and kept it off for a year. I was like, okay, these people eat breakfast every morning. Okay, I'm going to eat breakfast every morning. These people keep track of what they're eating. Okay, I'm going to start tracking what I'm eating. And so I'm like, if I do what they do, then maybe I'll be successful too. And it almost felt too easy, you know? Now, I will say I was vegetarian. I went vegetarian when I was in university because this was before my thyroid diagnosis, and I was just feeling so sick and they weren't giving me a diagnosis. So again, I took to the computer and like, what can I do to help my symptoms? And so I went on a vegetarian diet and I did feel better, but I didn't lose weight. In fact, I just gained weight. And so at one point my husband sat down and said, I think we should try a plant-based diet. That's a little extreme. I am of Dutch heritage. I am practically built out of cheese. I don't, because plant-based diet, no dairy, no eggs. I'm like, what's left? So I said, okay, you know what? Let's give it a try. And the first 3 months I gained 30 pounds because I was like, well, vegans are all skinny. So if I just eat vegan food, I'm going to be skinny too. The weight's just going to fall right off me, except vegan cupcakes have as many or more calories as regular cupcakes.
That's true. They taste good too.
They're real good. They're really good. So I actually had watched Forks Over Knives documentary. I went back and watched it again. And it was like, oh, a whole food plant-based diet does not have very much processed food in it and not very much oil in it. And so let me try this again. And I paired that with tracking my food using the free app, MyFitnessPal. Because in the plant-based world, a lot of people will say, oh, you can eat whatever you want and lose weight. That is not true. Energy is energy. Calories are calories. So I put those two together and it worked. And I could eat lots of food because I was looking at the caloric density of foods. So I was eating tons of fruits and veggies because I discovered that something that I've been ashamed of my whole life, that I need to eat a lot of food to feel good. I can do that on a plant-based diet.
Mhm.
I can eat. I always say I eat more than a silverback gorilla. I eat so much food, and people are like, "You probably don't really eat, though. You're like a size 4, 6." I'm like, "Oh, I eat," because I wouldn't be smiling if I was not eating, right? And so I eat a lot of fruits and veggies, but that's why a plant-based diet works for me. So people will ask me, "Do you coach everybody to be plant-based?" And I said, "Well, no, because my number one best practice. I don't like to talk about the things I do as rules because it doesn't feel like a lot of flexibility. And the little rebel inside my head is like, oh no, we're going to break that rule. So it's my best practice is to not do anything I wasn't willing to do for the rest of my life.
I like that rule. I really do.
Yeah.
Don't do
Yeah.
anything that you won't do for the rest of your life.
No, because that's what I had done before. I had cut out whole food groups. I had no chocolate ever or no sweets, right?
Mhm.
Again, I'm Dutch. We're wired that way. So when I said no, then if I had something, oh, I've blown it. I might as well just go and eat the rest of the cookies.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, you know what? I only do what I'm willing to do for the rest of my life. And I took away all urgency. There's no deadline, there's no finish line. The journey is ongoing. And even when I got to my best weight, which is whatever weight I am when I'm living the healthiest life I can enjoy,
Yeah.
then it's not like, oh, well, I've arrived. I can just eat whatever I want now. In
Mhm.
order for me to maintain what I've done, which I've been maintaining my weight loss, I lost 150 pounds in 2 years and 3 months, and I've
Mhm.
been maintaining it for 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Well,
so I also reversed my diabetes and
mhm.
I reversed my fatty liver disease.
Yes.
So, and my joints are better. Arthritis, you can't undo arthritis,
No.
right? So I do what I can with that. But when it came to my weight loss journey, the pairing of the plant based with the MyFitnessPal was a winner for me. And in addition to that, I also started moving. I found exercise that didn't feel like exercise. And so I started out with Zumba because I've always loved dancing. And I was hooked. I was loving the salsa and the hip hop, and it didn't feel like a workout. And then I hit a plateau that lasted for 3 months. I
Mhm.
got to 208. I started just above 300. I
Mhm.
got to 208 and I was stuck for 3.5 months. And I thought, what am I going to do? Like, I did not come this far to only come this far.
Yes.
I gotta finish this. And I did not ever set out to lose 150 pounds.
Mhm.
I didn't. In my wildest dreams, I would have never thought it was possible. My husband and I were chatting about it. And he's also lost 70 pounds because he saw what I was doing and he was like, what are you doing? And in the beginning, he wasn't super supportive. He was quite
Mhm.
worried that I was going to fall into disordered eating patterns.
Mhm.
And so he was really concerned with me tracking everything, and I weigh and measure my portions,
Mhm. Mhm.
not to limit what I'm having, only just to know what to put in the tracker. That's
Yeah.
all, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, so he ended up saying, okay, what are you doing? And he's lost 70 pounds, but we were talking about it. He said, when was the last time you weighed this, what I weigh now, right? I said, I don't know, like elementary school.
Mhm.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
So, fitness, I've always loved moving and I've
Mhm.
always been active at every size. I love dancing. And so I just found a way to incorporate that. And then when I lost 100 pounds, I went and became a Zumba instructor.
Oh, wow.
And so I started teaching it. And then one of the things I was really afraid of was lots of excess skin, you know?
Yeah.
And so I ended up having some. And so what I did is I started weight training.
Mhm.
But I am not somebody that likes to go to the gym, even though I'm a personal trainer.
Yeah.
It's got to be fun and there's got to be music.
Yeah.
So I learned how to teach strong, which is a HIIT class,
Mhm.
but it is all body weight. And so I
Yeah.
filled out my loose skin doing that. And it was fun. It was martial arts inspired. And I really made, because I do have arthritis in my knees, I catered to every level in the room, and women would walk into my class, my strong class, and they would walk out an inch and a half taller because they were
Wow.
so proud of themselves for what they did. Even if it was just one push-up,
Yeah.
and so that I was hooked and
Mhm.
almost became evangelical about that, because I could see these women getting stronger and more
Mhm.
confident every single class. So, but it really, all the classes that I ended up teaching, they keep me where I am, and they
Mhm.
also play to my different sides of my personality. So I think that helps too. Finding something that really jives with who I was made a big difference.
The one thing I love about your story is a couple of things. Number one, you're saying that being my best weight, being the weight
Yes.
where I feel the best at, I
Yes.
think is just an awesome mindset to have, because sometimes people are always so beholden to the number. They're
Yes.
beholden to that number on the scale, and because they didn't get that number that they're looking for, even though they feel great, it's like they're so discouraged.
Yes.
And so I was wondering, so all of our audience, you need to hear what she's saying.
It's because the thing is, like, could I get down another 20 pounds?
Mhm.
I could, but what would I have to do to get there?
Yeah.
And what would my life look like? I
Mhm.
want time to play with my kids and to put my feet up and watch a movie. I like having a glass of wine and a bowl of popcorn, on the weekends. So
Mhm.
what would I have to do to get to be 125 pounds? Well, more than I'm willing to do for the rest of my life. And that's my number one rule is I'm not doing anything I'm not willing to do for the rest of my life.
Mm.
Because it's all about sustainability for me. I've done the yo-yo thing enough
Mhm.
and that's why I didn't set a number. I thought, you know what? Whatever it is, I'll know when I
Mhm.
get there, because I won't be willing to eat any less and I won't be willing to move any more. And then I have arrived.
Then you're there. Then you're
Right.
there.
Exactly.
Now, were there any challenges that you experienced during your weight loss journey, and how did you overcome it? Mhm.
Yeah, so there were a few. I mean, as I mentioned, I'm a mom of 4, and at the
Mhm.
time, like, I was a stay-at-home mom because my babies were little, and so I had put my career on hold. So we didn't have a lot of resources. I didn't have resources. I didn't have time and I didn't have money. And so
Mm.
I didn't have a gym membership, and I thought, "What am I gonna do?" But I really started with food first because I thought that I can control. That, I mean, I'm gonna buy groceries anyways, so I can buy different groceries, right?
Yeah.
And then when it came to walking, when it came to exercise, I did like one class that we could afford, and I walked in the mornings before the kids got up. But I had to be so I had to really work with my own shortcomings, and I knew that if there were any barriers to me getting out the door in the morning, I wasn't going to do it. So I'd
Mm.
lay out my clothes in the morning. I'd untie my shoes. It's
I
amazing
love
what a
it.
difference, if I got to untie my shoes. Forget it. I'm not going. Nope, they're already untied, right?
They're
And
already there.
already
Mhm.
there, and everything was ready to go. I didn't have to look for my earbuds. I didn't. It was all set the night before. And so that was a challenge. And then, as I mentioned, my husband initially was not super supportive. When
Mm.
he met me, he's like, "You're the most beautiful woman in the world. You don't need to change.
Mm.
I don't want you to. I wish you wouldn't feel so badly about yourself." But I said,
Mhm.
it's not about that. It's like, I'm 36 and I have diabetes
Yeah.
and I can't walk. It's not really about that. And so, although I'm not going to lie to you, I really love shopping for clothing now.
You can go anywhere and buy clothing now.
Honestly, I can remember the moment I was in the mall and I was like looking in a window. I'm like, oh, that's beautiful.
Mm.
Oh, I wish they made that in my size. And then I
Mm.
look down, I'm like, oh,
Me
I
too.
can go in every store now,
Yeah.
almost every store.
Mhm.
And it was very strange that coming to that realization that I could like buy clothing online, and and I could buy clothing that wasn't, I always was so, Torrid is great now, but we didn't have Torrid
Mm-mm.
before.
It was Lane and Bryant.
It was, we didn't even have Lane Bryant.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Okay.
no, 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 no. I would go to the States because I would go down to
Mhm.
Montana or whatever just so I could, or I would order it from Lane Bryant. Lane Bryant was nicer than anything we had here. So, but in terms of challenges, back to challenges. My
Oh,
husband
sorry.
was not initially, that was my fault. I'm talking about clothes. Um, so my husband was not initially, it's not that he wasn't supportive. He's always supportive of me,
Yeah.
but he was just worried for me. And he didn't want yeah, he didn't want me to fall into some unhealthy patterns.
Mhm.
So fair enough. I said to him, "You tell me if you're worried." But he never got worried. He saw eventually that what I was doing was fine. But I mean, in the beginning, he wasn't trying to sabotage me, but he used to show me love by bringing me home treats. And so I told him I was going to do. I'm like, I'm doing this. And so he came home from work one day with a cookie the size of my face. Like it was massive. This peanut butter cookie. But here you go. I thought you would like this. And I said, after what I just told you, you thought that I would like this. A cookie, this big cookie is probably like 1,500 calories.
Mhm.
He's like, maybe not that much, but it's probably a good 8.
Yeah,
It's big.
it's a big cookie.
It was a big cookie. I said, you know what? This is not supportive. And I realized that in that moment, I realized a big part of my journey was going to be assertiveness. The
Yeah.
way that he had treated me and whatnot before is no longer going to work because it's not supportive of what I wanted. And so
Mm.
I said, I am not going to eat this cookie or any other cookie that you bring into this house. If I want a cookie, I will get myself a cookie because I can have a cookie. I'm choosing not to eat this cookie. I don't want this cookie. And that cookie went in the garbage. I did not eat that cookie. And I couldn't believe I had the strength to do it.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't believe it. And so then he started doing things like going to the spice store and buying me delicious Vietnamese cinnamon. Yeah, that's better. That's better. I like it on my lattes, but that's not enough calories, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Or by treating me to going to the farmer's market on the way home and bringing me fresh beets and things like that. So he got it, but it took me throwing out a massive cookie and having a bit of a temper tantrum for him to understand that that's not the way we're doing things anymore. And I found that with my friends as well. I needed to really work on my assertiveness. No, I don't want to go to that. No, is there any way we could go to a different restaurant?
Yeah.
A restaurant that is, got, and I wouldn't say because but just, so often people would say, let's all go out. Where do you want to go? Oh, it's fine. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I didn't do that anymore. I said,
Mhm.
actually, I would love to go here or here. Do either of those places work?
Mhm.
Okay, great. And then I didn't have to worry about what am I going to eat at a barbecue place,
Yeah.
right? That's all fried food. Let's go for sushi. Let's go for something else. So I learned that assertiveness was going to have to be a big part of my journey. And I think that served me well all the way through because once my body started to change, people started to make a lot of comments. And
Mm.
it was that assertiveness that really got me through that time. That was very difficult. Um,
Can you maybe share, because I don't think people realize the comments that people make and how it kind of
Mhm.
gets under your subconscious. Like I remember losing weight, people are like, "Are you going to eat that? Oh, you're done." And it's just and
Yes.
it gets to you. You're like, "Wait a minute. Yes, no, I'm full. I cannot eat anymore."
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, the number of times that I was like, "Oh, can you eat that?"
Mhm.
Well, yes, I can eat anything I want. I'm choosing not to eat that,
Yeah.
right? Which was a bit of a mindset shift for me too. I feel like language is super powerful. And when I would say before, "Oh no, I can't eat that," that was a message that like I heard that. And
Mhm.
then the little rebel inside my head is like, "Oh, yes, you can, and you should have 2 pieces, not just 1." Right? Whereas if I say, "I don't want that, thank you," then it's like I'm asserting what it is that I do or do not want. And I hear that's like, I can, I'm choosing not to, which is very different. And that feels different to me. But I've had people like, oh my gosh, you're just going to blow away. There's nothing left to you. You're so skinny. I'm like, Mom, no, I'm good. I'm very much here. And I can remember going in, I was wearing a pair of joggers and I brought my kids into school and somebody in the office said, okay, okay, enough already. We get it. You want to be skinny. Like, how much further are you going to go? What do you want to be, a bikini model or something? Like,
Oh,
look at
wow.
your leggings. They're hanging off of you. I'm like, hey, number one, they're jogging pants. They're supposed to be baggy. And
Yeah.
number two, it's none of your business, and I'm fine, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it's funny because when I was heavy, I thought people were always saying things
Mhm.
about my body or thinking things about my body or what was on my plate. I just couldn't hear them.
Yeah. Mhm.
But once I lost weight, it was like open season. And
Mhm.
people felt even before I got to my best weight,
Mhm.
people would make comments about like, so how much more are you going to do? Like, or are you okay? Like, are you doing okay? And well, you probably don't eat anything. Or I would say, people would ask, oh, so how did you do it? And I would start to tell them, and someone slide in and say, well, she's vegan. That's how. And I'm like, oh, there are a lot of overweight vegans That really has nothing to do with it. That's just what works for me.
Mhm.
It's eat a mostly plant-based diet, and I'm not plant perfect.
Yeah. Mhm.
I still have the odd piece of milk chocolate, or if I'm traveling, I'll have, something that has dairy in it. I'm not perfect, but you can't just chalk it all up to that. That oversimplifies it.
Yeah.
Like, so just so many comments, and, loved ones would say, "Oh, she's probably not going to have dessert." And I was like, "Well, it depends. What did you have? What do you have for dessert?" And if it's, 'cause for me, if it's store bought, then no, thank you.
Yeah.
If you made it, because this is how I think about indulgences. I think,
Mhm.
is it worth the calories?
Yeah.
And then what is the least amount that I need to be happy? Which changes from day to day,
Mhm.
right? So some days I can just have a little bite off my husband's plate, and that's more than enough.
Mhm.
And other days I want a whole piece, right? So it just depends on what I have going on.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, that was like a big thing. Now people don't make comments. But
Mhm.
it's been 4 years. So although I can remember going to a big family gathering and my uncle coming up to me and he's like, "Well, good for you. You lost it, but can you keep it off?" Because 92% of people can't. And
Wow.
I was like, "Oh, thanks for sharing that fun statistic."
Oh my gosh. Thanks for the support, uncle.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And there was initially I felt a lot of pressure to keep
Mhm.
it off,
Mhm.
because I felt like people were just waiting to see
Yeah.
if I was gonna regain. I've maintained my weight loss within a 10-pound range.
Mhm.
So it's sort of, my lowest ever was, I think, 136, but I had raging gallbladder
Mhm.
disease at the time. That was one thing that I did have to, one implication of the being very overweight.
Mhm.
Well, no, I was more than overweight. I was very obese. To losing all the weight is I ended up with gallstones.
Mm.
And so before they took my gallbladder out, I had got that was my lowest, 136. And then I've gone up to like, but my best weight is between like 142 and 145,
Mhm.
somewhere in there. But then when I started weight training, it went up. And so that was something else to wrap my head around, that it's more than just a number on the scale.
Mhm.
There's so many numbers, right? So for me, it's how many steps that I do in a day. What's my A1C,
Yeah.
right? My blood glucose. Um, how many days have I been tracking my food? How, there's this, how do my clothes feel? How, I try just to use my weight as one piece of the whole puzzle.
Mm. I
Yeah.
like that. I like that because you're absolutely right. There's so much more to this than just the number on the scale. We have to look at how we feel. We have to look at, are
Yes.
we making our healthy habits?
Yes.
Now, I have a lot of patients who are just starting off. And so sometimes they can
Yes.
be a little bit discouraged, just kind of because in their mind they've done this before and it just that haven't done well. Any
Hmm.
advice that you have for them to kind of help them kind of get started and get back on track? Mhm.
Yes, well, I mean, I can try. So I think one of the biggest surprises for me was that it didn't have to feel like suffering, and it didn't have to feel so hard. And in
Mhm.
fact, I found that when it didn't feel hard, that was when I was the most successful.
Mm.
And so it's not about, for me, it's not about rigid dieting rules. It's about making small, sustainable changes, because these small changes don't add up. They compound
Mm.
like interest, right? And so, I mean, some people will say, okay, but really, does having a glass of water in the morning make that big of, is that going to help me lose 150 pounds or 80 pounds or 40 pounds? Well, no, but if you start your day with a healthy habit, the chance of you taking care of yourself well throughout the day increases.
Mhm.
And so if all you can do in a day is have a big old glass of water to start your day with, that's better than nothing,
Yeah.
right? So starting small and doing, like I said, nothing that you aren't willing to do for the rest of your life. So I have clients ask me about certain things like, well, what about fasting? I'm like, okay, so intermittent fasting, some people really like it. It works for their lifestyle. Do you like breakfast? Oh, I love breakfast. It's my favorite meal. Okay, if you can't see yourself never eating breakfast again, maybe intermittent fasting or that style of intermittent fasting isn't for you.
Mhm.
What about keto? I said, okay, well, how do you feel about potatoes? Do you like potatoes? Because if you really love potatoes, then is it realistic to say that cutting them out forever is going to work for you long term? If the answer is no, then don't do it. If you don't love the life that you have while you're losing weight, the weight's not going to stay off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my one big one is, can I do this for the rest of my life? If yes, then give it a try and see what happens. I think the other big thing for me was I had to really embrace the fact that I was not going to be perfect. There were going to be days where I was going to make mistakes. It was going to be challenging. And that's okay, because in no other area of my life do I expect to be perfect. I'm not a perfect parent. I'm not a perfect partner. I'm not a perfect coach. And I make mistakes all the time while I'm teaching.
Yeah.
I don't expect perfection, but in this, I always did. So if I was great all morning. I was great all afternoon. I got in a workout. And then after dinner, things went sideways. Well, I blew it. I might as well just keep eating for the rest of the weekend. I'll start again on Monday. No. What I found out is the secret for me was to just get back to it. If I fell down, stand back up, brush myself off, and keep going. We don't have to be perfect. Mistakes are proof we are trying, and we just have to keep at it. So that would be my other big thing, because I find there's a lot of black and white thinking for certainly for me, and then also people that I see. They were on the diet or off the diet. The food was good. The food was bad. No. Their food is not good or bad. There is food that is more filling and less filling, more nutritious, less nutritious. But food is not inherently good or bad. Because if we take a look at something like peanut butter, natural peanut butter, that's a healthy food. Not if you eat it by the tablespoonful. Right? So, yeah. So I would say that. Also, you cannot eat too many fruits and vegetables. It's impossible. You can't. And so that it's high in volume. So it gives a nice little stretch in the stomach so that it tells our brain, you can slow down now, but it's also full of vitamins and minerals and fiber. So I always say to my clients, you cannot eat too many fruits and vegetables. Like, challenge, try. You can't. I'm just, and then I sort of touched on it earlier, try and find movement that you love. And it doesn't have to be running marathons or CrossFit. It can be gardening. It can be walking. I think walking is the most underrated form of exercise.
Oh, true.
Right? Like that is where, when you look at my progress chart, that's where you can see the magic happened. And it wasn't like I was walking a lot. I was walking no more than 30 minutes. That was because, what can I do for the rest of my life? When I'm 87, can I walk for an hour a day? Maybe not. Could I do half an hour or 20 minutes? Yeah, I think so. So half an hour. And I worked up to it, and I was not fitness walking. I put on music that I loved, and I just went. I have clients that listen to podcasts or listen to audiobooks or talk to a friend while they walk. Walking is, I think, it's magic. I really do. So, and walking outside is even better.
Oh, yes. I love being outside. And I've had multiple patients who have been able to get off their blood pressure medications just by walking.
And truthfully, the whole reason that I started walking was because I had met with somebody who had gastric bypass surgery. And she did it because she was diabetic and her diabetes was out of control. That's why she had the surgery. But what she found was, every time she took a walk, her blood sugar was lowered. So she would test her blood sugar after a walk, and it was always down. And so at the time, I was type 2 diabetic. So I thought, well, it'll help with my arthritis in my knees, because arthritic knees do like movement. At least mine sure did. I'd always say if I sat too long, I felt rusty. And then also I thought maybe it will lower my blood sugar, because I'm like, I got to get off these medications. And so that's where it started out. But what it turned out to be was the most amazing stress relief. Like I started to call it my morning staff meeting with myself, and I would walk and I would do my best thinking and I would listen to music. And when I got down to my best weight, I started teaching so much, I gave up my walking because I was being so active, and I missed it. I missed it so much because I was doing it much more for here and here than my body. And that is the other thing that I really encourage any of your listeners or patients to think about movement and exercise, not for burning calories, because it's not very efficient. We can't outrun our fork. We cannot. So if they say if you only have an hour to spend on your health, spend it in the kitchen, not at the gym. And
Mhm.
this is coming from someone who really loves the gym. Exercise is so fantastic for improving and maintaining mobility,
Mhm.
circulating our blood, stress reduction, confidence, improvement in body image. Those are all great reasons to move. Burning calories is not really one of them. And as soon
Mhm.
as I took the burning calories out of the equation, it felt less like a punishment and more like a celebration of what my body could do. And
Right.
that's why I was always trying to do a little bit more because I'm like, oh, well, what else can I do? What else can I do? Right. And so it became something that I truly enjoyed. And it's not like I enjoyed exercise before. So for
Mhm.
those people who are listening and are like, yeah, I don't believe that I could ever like exercise, I didn't think I could either. I liked dancing,
Mhm.
but to me, dancing wasn't exercise.
Yeah.
Um, but now I love it. Like I love, love, love it. But I feel like it's because I shifted my mindset around it, you
Mm.
know? And so some of my clients find that helpful as well to just really, which is why you don't have to jog. You don't have to hoof it. You can look around and look at the leaves falling and look at the sky and listen to the birds and do all of these things
Mhm.
while you're walking,
And
So
enjoy it. Enjoy it.
enjoy it. Yes.
Well, I
Absolutely.
really appreciate the time that you spent and just kind of telling us a little bit more about your story. And I mean, there's so many golden nuggets that you said that are just breakthrough. So I'm so excited. So excited. But
Awesome.
how can people reach you? I didn't realize you're in Calgary,
Yes.
Canada, but how can people reach you?
Well, all the work that I do is online, all of
Okay.
it. So, when COVID hit, everything had to come online. So I was
Mhm.
working in a doctor's office, working with physicians there, but now everything is virtual. So I have a free Facebook group where called The Journey, and we work on transforming how women feel about food, movement, and themselves. And it's a fantastic supportive group. So I post about it regularly, and you've shared that is my personal profile, but I talk lots about my journey and about my work there. And then I opened up Journey Health Studio, which is completely online, and I've got free trials and on-demand fitness for all levels. I'm so passionate about getting people moving at every level. And I have arthritis in my knees, so I modify everything for people. So they're welcome to check that out. And then my website is journeyhealthstudio.com, and you can get in touch with me that way or through Facebook.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much again for just coming and talking with us. And everyone, I will definitely put her information in the show notes so you can be able to get in contact with her. All
Wonderful.
right. Well,
Thank you,
thank
Dr. Shelley. Thank you
you're
so much
welcome.
for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming. And for everyone else, we'll see you all next time.